The hangar bay door rolled up at 500. Steel groaned. The desert wind didn't come in, but the cold did. Eva Raines stepped through the gap before it hit shoulder height. Boots silent on concrete, left heel slightly uneven from wear. She never fixed it. She moved between aircraft like a shadow skimming under floodlights. The F-15E sat in Bay 4-1 of only 3 airframes rated for partial readiness. She didn't head straight for it. Her first stop was the log terminal. Flicked it on. Green screen blinked. She leaned close. Read without touching the keyboard. No one else in sight yet. Good. By the time the first junior airman shuffled in, yawning, she was already beneath the jet flashlight between her teeth tracing the hydraulic lines under the wing root. Pressure values checked out. Residue in the coupling. She cleaned it with a rag. Pocketed the rag. The kid tried to speak. She didn't look up. He took the hint. Went to Bay 2. Eva logged discrepancies by hand. Her handwriting was a blocky mix of Air Force print and old combat habit. Clean. No loops. Each letter took a quarter second. At 0600, the avionics crew powered up the main diagnostics cart. The jet blinked once. Then again. The radar array pinged to life. She stood by the intake arms crossed, not watching them, watching what they missed. One connector left floating. She said nothing. Marked it in the margin of the log sheet and walked away. The nickname started a year ago. Ghost. Not because she was pale or spooky, but because she'd show up where people didn't expect and vanish when they turned around. Nobody saw her take lunch. Nobody ever saw her talk more than 6 words at a time. She never explained her past. Never needed to. New pilots joked about her. One called her Hangar Ninja. He stopped after Kowalski barked something short and final. The older crews knew better. You didn't last 20 years in ops and come back to wrench jets unless something heavy sat on your record. Inside the break room, the coffee pot hissed. Eva didn't drink any. She stared through the glass panel at the runway, counting light poles. She stood that way for 12 minutes. When she turned, the room emptied. Her toolbox was standard. Nothing fancy, no decals, no extra padding. The foam was worn exactly to the shape of each tool. She carried it like others carried rifles. One hand, no sound. She checked tire wear manually. Didn't trust the printouts. Her thumb brushed the sidewalls. One click too soft. She adjusted PSI. Rechecked. Didn't smile. Didn't frown. Just moved to the next jet. By 0740, the squadron commander passed through. Colonel Hayes. He didn't speak to her. Just nodded once. She didn't nod back. That was routine. Between them, it meant everything was in spec. Her locker was third from the end. A photo was taped inside, barely visible beneath the upper shelf. Dusty. She never touched it. Just saw it when grabbing her gloves. She avoided eye contact with the new maintenance officer. He asked her a question once, something technical, half-informed. She gave the right answer. No elaboration. After that, he deferred to Kowalski. Eva's hands moved constantly but never rushed. She didn't pace, didn't pause, just flowed. Fluid like oil, cold like steel. The only time she stopped was when the base speakers buzzed morning flight ops call. She watched them walk out. Helmets under arms. Jokes. Noise. She remained behind. There was a silence in her presence. Not threatening. Not warm. Just empty space filled with knowledge. Her flight suit never wrinkled. Her boots never scuffed new epoxy. She cleaned tools twice a day whether she used them or not. They said ghosts don't exist, but she did. And every aircraft she touched came back whole. The diagnostics terminal blinked green, then amber, brief, long enough for Eva to see it. She didn't move, just kept reading. Her fingers rested on the edge of the housing panel. Fuel data rolled down the screen. Burn rate was high, too high for a training pattern. She logged the value manually. Didn't say a word. Cross-checked with Tuesday's sortie logs. Same aircraft, same aircrew, but burn delta off by nearly 12%. She pulled flight weight figures. Not a fluke. This bird had flown hot. The F-15E's digital footprint told stories if you knew how to listen. Eva knew. She'd read ghosts from sensor drift before. Today it wasn't ghosts. It was combat profiles tucked inside peacetime masks. The radar countermeasure logs weren't empty. They never should have populated during exercises. But there it was. Jam sweep protocol active at 19,000 feet, 200 knots. That wasn't a drill altitude, and nobody had reported a simulation insertion. She keyed into the software loadout registry, saw something colder. The threat library had updated mid-mission, not static. Real-time overlays. Only deployed systems did that, and only if linked to external threat detection grids. That tech didn't belong in sandbox exercises. A mechanic brushed past her. She stepped back without flinching. Her eyes never left the screen. The system cycled once more. She waited. Saw another tag flash seed protocol. Not dummy payload. Live algorithm. She didn't speak to anyone during the shift briefing, just stood near the edge of the dry erase board. Her boots planted, arms crossed. Watched the officer run through the day's assignments. Alpha Squadron was scheduled again. No deviation. No remarks about live armament or target sim. Just routine language. Too routine. She waited until the group disbanded. Walked slow through the hangar watching ground crews load another jet. MK-82s, but the harnesses were double-checked like someone expected Gs, and the AIM-9s were mounted high, not just stored. She noted how the loaders didn't joke. No music played. Eva made her way to the armory gate. Didn't enter. Just watched from 20 feet out. A private brought out a sealed crate. Handled it with care, not speed. The label was faded, but she could still read it. FLIR targeting module. You didn't run FLIR on drone simulators. That night, she sat by her terminal again. Quiet. Lights low. She opened yesterday's debrief log. Found 3 entries marked communication latency. Pilots chalked it up to glitch. She knew better. That lag matched encryption reshuffles. Real encryption. No one trained with triple layer keys unless something was active. By midnight, she'd collected enough to know. This wasn't prep for a drill. This was a mission. But no one said the word. No one ever would. So she didn't either. The apartment was dark. One overhead bulb. No shade. The floor was swept. Not a thing out of place. Eva closed the door without locking it. Set her boots side by side. Removed the outer layer of her uniform and folded it twice sharp corners, then placed it on the only chair in the room. She crossed to the drawer. Middle one. Pulled it open slow. Inside, stacked tight, were standard-issue BDUs, folded flat. Beneath them, a green-bound notebook. Blank cover. She moved it aside. The photo sat underneath. A printed sheet 4x6. Slight curl on one edge from years of drawer pressure. She lifted it with 2 fingers. Noticed the tiny scratch in the corner that hadn't been there last year. 5 people. All in flight suits. Helmets off. Standing in front of an F-16 with a desert sky behind them. Second, from the left. Eva. No smile, but her eyes weren't as empty. The woman beside her had a grin that bent sideways. The guy on the far right held a glove like he didn't know what to do with his hands. Eva's thumb stopped just above the face of the man in the center. She didn't press, just hovered. Then her fingers curled slightly, shielding half the photo. Her chest barely moved. The air in the room stayed still. She stayed like that. 8 seconds. Maybe 9. Then a breath, short. She placed the photo flat again. No sound. The notebook returned to its place on top. BDUs over that. Closed the drawer with care. Not slowly, just controlled. She made tea, didn't drink it. The next morning, 500, the hangar door rolled open. The ghost was already walking in. At 03:47, the siren broke the dark. A single tone, long, not a drill. Red strobes blinked along the hangar ceiling. Shadows jumped in sync. Eva blinked once, dropped her wrench, walked toward the nearest intercom without hurrying. Across the base, boots hit concrete. A door slammed. Radios clicked. In the command center, one screen blinked, then 2, then blank. No uplink. Alpha Squadron's transponders offline. No comms, no data, no satellite track. Colonel Hayes entered last. No jacket. His shirt half-buttoned. He said nothing. Stared at the board. Ops staff shifted. A captain mumbled something about jamming. A lieutenant scrolled through telemetry. Another voice cracked over comms. Static, then a single word. Medevac. 2 down. Grid square blurred. No one knew how. Eva stood by the wall, behind the floor light. Didn't speak. Didn't shift weight. Watched the room move. Someone called the roster. No pilots on standby. No crew certified for F-15 combat op within 90 minutes. Another screen flickered. Power surge. The techs cursed, rebooted the feed. Hayes barked one order, the rest stayed quiet. They all turned toward the readiness board. One jet, line 47. Half-fueled, half-diagnosed, flyable. Maybe, but no name listed under certified aircrew. The room locked. No sound now except fingers on keys, a printer struggling. Eva didn't blink. She looked once at the map, memorized the coordinates. A timer ran in someone's head, pressure not from yelling, from seconds. From the hollow silence after someone says, "We have nothing." Eva stepped forward. One sentence, low, steady. "I can fly it." The room froze. Hayes didn't speak. His hand paused over the console. Officers glanced. Webb let out half a laugh, scoffed, shook his head. She didn't flinch. Kowalski didn't raise his voice, just spoke straight. "She's Viper Hawk." Silence, then a ripple. "She flew strike missions, before most of you saw your first jet up close." The air changed. No rank pulled, no paperwork waved, no argument. Hayes didn't blink. His eyes met hers. She held the look for 2 seconds, then turned, walked toward the exit. No nod, no salute, just motion. Boots hit tile. Door hissed shut behind her. No one followed. In the hangar, floodlights lit Bay 4. The F-15E sat ready, barely, fuel topped, systems green, just enough. She climbed the ladder slow, no rush, no hesitation. Strapped in without a word. Behind her the base moved again. The hangar smelled of metal and kerosene. Lights above pulsed once every 4 seconds. The jet sat in Bay 4, nose forward, canopy up, still warm from idle checks. Eva walked toward it like it belonged to her. Rodriguez handled the ladder. No eye contact, just readiness. Kowalski stood by the fuel line checking the feed. No clipboard. He didn't need one. Her boots echoed once, then only the soft shift of her weight as she stepped up. Gloves on, one click to test the grip. Fingers moved with purpose. She circled the fuselage, one hand grazing the belly seam, panel lock, gear inspection, wing root latches, thrust vector seals. She didn't speak, didn't need to. Each motion exact, no hesitation, like muscle remembered what the mind left buried. Rodriguez handed her the checklist. She took it, didn't read, just flipped to the end, initialed, gave it back. The cockpit ladder hissed as she climbed. The harness fell into her hands like it was waiting, belt snapped in place, thigh restraint first, then shoulder, last the flight computer. Webb stood 20 feet away, hands on hips. He muttered something. Doubt. Ego. Confusion. She didn't turn. Helmet cradled her palms. Not new, not hers, but it fit. Like memory. She lowered it slow, visor down, chin strap secure. HUD blinked green. Her right hand reached out, canopy control engaged, the glass lowered. The seal locked. Inside, her breathing leveled. Outside, nobody moved. This wasn't a scene. It was a launch. Afterburner lit at wheels up. Altitude held low, under radar. Terrain following on. The desert didn't move. Her eyes barely blinked. The HUD flicked data, threat matrix green, no chatter. She rode the frame like breath. Every motion rehearsed. No room for noise, no room for memory. 3 clicks to arm guns. Switch flipped. GAU-22 a hot. IR ping marked the convoy. Dust trail long, formation tight. She adjusted vector. No pause. Target locked. Squeeze. The 25mm cannon tore the lead truck in half. No scream, no fireball, just void. The rest scattered. Radar warning. Spike at 3 o'clock. Missile lock in 5. She dumped chaff. Broke right. Rolled hard. -G for half a second. Sam fired. She looped wide. Acquired return signature. Maverick locked. 2-second tone. Fire. The missile cut air. Then silence. Then light. 1 kill. Sight gone. Altitude climb. Scan sweep. Nothing on band 2. Beacon ping. Faint. 11 o'clock. Moving slow. Then a second. Closer to ridge. IFF confirms 2 heat signatures. Survivors. She dropped to 3,000 feet. Flared once. Called medevac. Code not conversation. Held position in tight orbit. Guns cold. Radar hot. Second flare. Dust cloud rose. Extraction inbound. She watched the bird dip low. Watched silhouettes climb in. Confirmed departure. reached for throttle. Banked west, alone again. The runway shimmered under the hangar lights. Gear down, flaps steady, no talk, just the sound of wind and machine. The wheels met concrete like a handshake. Firm, final. Reverse thrusters coughed. The F-15E rolled long, slowed, stopped. Ground crew stood spaced along the taxiway. No cheering, no words. A few saluted. Others didn't move, just watched. Floodlights cast long shadows behind her as she popped the canopy. The ladder was already up. Rodriguez there first. Helmet under her arm, she climbed down like she had 100 times before. Kowalski waited 10 feet back, coffee in one hand, the other loose at his side. She took the cup, nodded once. Webb lingered behind him, shoulders down, hands clenched. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "You were right, or something close to it." She said nothing, just turned toward the command center. Hayes met her halfway. No salutes, no clipboard, just him, tired, jacket on crooked. "Well done." She nodded. That was all. They walked inside. The debrief room smelled like old air and metal chairs. She sat, removed her gloves slow, dropped them on the table. One screen on, black and white playback of her run, no commentary. She pointed to one timestamp, enemy vehicle movement, confirmed. Another frame, Sam's signature, engaged. Then the rescue, 2 flares, no deviation, extraction complete. She didn't speak unless asked, her tone flat, answers clipped. Hayes watched her, didn't interrupt. When it was over, he leaned back. "You want your seat back?" She didn't look up. "I want to teach." He nodded, once, like he knew she'd say it. "They'll listen to you." She didn't answer. Outside, the rotors faded, the noise shrank into desert dark. She walked the length of the hangar alone. Toolbox left by the door. A wrench sat on top. She put it back inside. No music, no applause. The only sound was her boots, even, controlled. She passed the flight board, no name listed, still blank. She didn't change it. Didn't need to. The room smelled like plastic and sweat. Monitors lined both walls, headsets draped over chairs, no windows, just overhead light, cold, constant. Eva stood at the front, arms behind her back. No intro, no name badge, just a single command console. 12 seats filled, young pilots, fresh boots. Webb sat near the back, eyes forward, no grin now. She tapped a key. The sim booted, scenario loaded, a hostile zone sweep, multiple threats, mixed air defense. No explanation, just play. The screen lit up. Formation drifted. No comm discipline. EW spiked within 90 seconds. One pilot overshot his lane, another broke cover. Then chaos. Scramble, stammer, disruption. Mission, fail. Eva watched. Said nothing. Paused. Reset. Again. No voice change, no pause. They straightened up. Ran it again. She walked behind them. Quiet steps. No shoes squeaked. She tapped one console. Altitude too high. Another. Vector off axis. A mutter. Course correct. They failed again. She stood still. Loaded same scenario. 3rd time. Then 4th. By the 5th, no one spoke. No one questioned. They leaned in. Eyes sharp. Knuckles white. Webb didn't flinch. He adjusted his angle. Followed cues without prompt. Eva didn't explain. She showed them. Failure is data. Pressure is calibration. They learned it without her having to say it. When it ended, she shut the screen down, walked out. No speech, no applause, just silence. And respect. The room was dark except for the hallway light bleeding under the door. Chairs were pushed in. Projector off. Air still. Eva sat at the front, elbows on the table, hands quiet. The photo lay flat before her. Not hidden now. Centered. Boots approached. Webb entered without a word. Data tablet in one hand, his steps slow, no ceremony. He sat across from her. Didn't ask. Just settled in. He spoke low, clear. The mission, the turn, the lock, the save. She listened. Didn't blink. The photo caught the light once. Her thumb rested near the edge. He asked her why. Why teach us? She looked at him. Not long, just once. Someone stayed behind for me once. She stood. left the photo on the table. Walked out. He didn't follow. He stayed behind, stared at the image. 5 in flight suits. Now 2 left. And one of them had come back. The morning routine never changed. Jets lined the field in neat order. Maintenance logs scanned red lines, cleared tools exact in their trays. Inside Hangar 3, a Strike Eagle waited. Panels open, cabling exposed. Eva was on one knee, elbow deep in the avionics bay. Her hands moved without sound. Fasteners clicked loose, wires tested, systems reset. Boots approached from behind. Webb stopped 2 paces back. No salute. Just stood there. Sim cleared, no red flags. She didn't look up. Nodded once. His voice didn't carry further. He turned and left. She finished her check. Closed the panel. Latch engaged with a clean snap. Later that evening, the base cooled under a pale sky. Cadets ran final circuits. Flight instructors shouted across tarmac, their voices lost in jet wash and rotor hum. Eva walked the outer perimeter alone, same as always. But something had shifted. A crew chief passed, gave her a chin nod. She nodded back, no smile, no words, just acknowledgement. Inside her quarters, the bed was made. Table clear, 1 photo hung framed above her footlocker, the edges no longer curled. 5 people in flight suits, 1 jet behind them, F-16, desert camo, high sun. She stood 3rd from the left, younger, mouth tight, the others smiling. She turned out the light. The next day she entered the classroom before the cadets. Bootfalls behind her were slower now, measured. Webb led the group. No arrogance left, only readiness. She loaded the sim, same scenario, different results. They held formation longer, reacted cleaner, nobody panicked. She walked behind them, didn't touch a single console. When they finished, she just said good. The lights stayed low, chairs creaked, no one stood. Then she left. Outside, the wind pulled dust in slow spirals. Eva crossed the tarmac, jet fuel in the air. Somewhere a bird lifted off, shadow passed over her face. She didn't stop. She was still a ghost. But now she walked in daylight,